I think a lot about being a good mom, and I think a lot about being a good boss. And what I've realized is that in the end of the day, it comes down to really knowing what your values are as both a mom and as an employer, and that you're able to articulate them. And that, so I have a growing set of rules that I've talked about previous talks, and that list is growing, and I realized, well, wait a second, what are my rules that I live by actually based on? So I kind of tried to narrow it down on my 4 core principles that I live my life by. So the first one is the importance of create, the importance of play, the importance of trust, and the importance of respect. And I want to give you a few examples how they manifest themselves in my life. So I have a personal rule that if I find myself complaining about something, I have 2 options, either do something about it or let it go. And oftentimes, I'm the type that wants to do something about it. So in 2011, my daughter comes home from yet another birthday party, and there's a goodie bag. And in that goodie bag are these incredibly badly produced, badly designed temporary tattoos. And they're a total insult to my Swiss aesthetic. And she asked me to put them on her, and I was grumbling, and I was thinking once again, I was like, these tattoos are just the worst. And I reminded myself of James Murphy's quote, the best way to complain is to make things. I was like, you know, I'm a user interface designer. I have friends who are illustrators. I have a blog that I can advertise. Boom, 2 months later, Tattly was born, which was more a side project than anything else. We launched with 16 designs. I thought, I'm going to ship a few designs each month. Little did I know it would grow into a company 3 years in. The second day, actually, when I launched, I got a call from a very prestigious museum store in London, and they asked me for my wholesale catalog. And I was very confident on the phone. I was like, absolutely no problem. I hung up, and I turned around to my studio mates, like, guys, what's a wholesale catalog? So I created packaging. We sell them individually, we sell them as sets, and my learning curve was incredibly steep because obviously I've never sold a product before. And now we're a team of 12. We ship worldwide out of Dumbo. We put stamps on all the envelopes because it makes me so happy and it feels personal, and everything's made in the US. And if Tattly is not the example of that you should always take your side projects seriously, I don't know what is. Then my second principle is play. I'm a big believer that you need to have fun when you work, and that it needs to be, it's totally okay to be a little silly every now and then. So my favorite thing in my office is our confetti drawer. I seriously believe every business needs a confetti drawer. Also, the growth chart. Whenever we hire somebody, we measure them. And this growth chart makes me want to have investors just so that if they ask me about our growth, I can point them to this. Then we have a prop box, a big giant prop box, because sometimes you just need bunny ears to work. We have a disco light, and we have monkeys that sit in on meetings. All of this is, I think, very important to my work day. So then my third principle is trust. And I have an example of what can happen when you trust people with your baby. So about 6 years ago, I came back from yet another design conference, and I really started thinking about, wait a second, conferences are great, but they're time-consuming, they're expensive, they're inaccessible for most people. And what I really was craving was an accessible event for my design community to meet on a monthly basis. I just got into my co-working space, so I had for the first time ever, a space that I could invite people in. So I decided to start a monthly breakfast lecture series called Creative Mornings. And what started in my design studio, then we were invited to other studios, and we got bigger and bigger. What started out with 30 people a month ended up being 50 and 60, and we had an incredible response to it. And I was a little surprised, to be very honest, until I found this quote by Clay Shirky, in which he says, we systematically overestimate the value of access to information and underestimate the value of access to each other. And it kind of clicked. And now we fill venues like the Met with George Lois, and literally when the RSVP opens, in 40 seconds. We, for example, have next month, we're at the Tishman Auditorium, the brand new auditorium, with 600 seats with David Kelly, the founder of IDEO, and we already have people begging us that they can get in. It's amazing. So we have now 74 chapters in over 40 countries that every month host a Creative Mornings, which is completely free breakfast, there's a 20-minute talk, and then you go off to work. And the interesting thing was I've never intended this to be anything bigger than just in my community in New York. And when people started asking me, please let me run one, there was this moment of like, wait a second, that's my baby. What if you don't do a good job? And that was this moment of trust where eventually I just realized, you know what, if this grows, this might be a beautiful thing. And now when I look at the photos coming in from around the world, this is Moscow, Budapest, Chicago, Los Angeles, Berlin, Milan, Utrecht, Auckland, New Zealand, Zurich. Has anyone seen the Pharrell Oprah thing? This is my Pharrell Oprah moment. San Francisco, or Bangalore. I'm completely humbled, and if I've learned one thing with Creative Mornings is that trust breeds magic, because these are all volunteers that run these events for free, that spread the love for Creative Mornings.